Kingdom.
Well, well, well. What's the job?
With only 3 episodes left.
We snatch Pope and then we run.
Don't miss a moment.
Wake up.
Animal Kingdom. All new Sundays at 9 on TNT. And watch anytime on demand in the TNT app.
This whole thing seems like a bad dream.
This isn't the world you wanted, but it's the world you created. The question is, what happens next?
Everyone who inhabits Westworld, whether they be host or human, is Alice down the rabbit hole. And the wonderful thing about our show is that it's an examination of the world that we live in now.
I think one of the hardest things about shooting at a location like this is just capturing the sense of scale and scope that you experience being here in person. That is just this kind of massive national monument, and how to communicate that in the frame of the show is one of the bigger challenges we've had. It's a big open canvas with the sun moving all day, and so it's also a challenge to just make sure that the look of the show maintained throughout the course of the day when the elements are changing around us in real time.
Given you know what's going to happen, why am I always the one in the lead?
You're the better fighter. I make sure we're properly backstopped.
How convenient.
Bernard has spent many years inside the sublime, exploring the various realms of possibility. And each time he comes up with the same conclusion, that there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. He still hasn't given up, though.
It's been a total honor and privilege to watch both Jeffrey Wright and Thandiwe Newton work, just to see how rigorously they engage with the material and really try and figure out how to get inside the mindset of these characters.
Everyone here is going to die, but we can save one tiny part of it. Just maybe that's enough to give us hope. Will you still fight with me?
I think we have to talk about the incredible Tess Thompson, who is the most delicious villain one could dream of.
And very complicated. Yeah, I think her animus and her hatred of human beings is perfectly understandable, frankly. But I think she understands that it's a trap. I think she's looking for something transcendent. She's looking for something beautiful and willing to do almost anything to achieve that dream.
I heard you were losing your mind. I just didn't think they meant literally.
I had never done a big fight scene like that in water, so there was obviously the challenges of that.
We try to push the envelope and do things that haven't been done before, or do them in a different way and keep them practical instead of going visual effects.
One thing that was also really interesting is we had some drone hosts performing, and they couldn't stay in the water too long because of their drone suits would get waterlogged because they're kind of spongy, and so they just take all the water in and sort of suck it in. Anyways, I thought that was very funny. I was waterlogged myself, but I just stayed waterlogged.
This time we play the game my way.
And what game is that?
Survival of the fittest.
They had a fight in the concourse. I mean, any train station, they're a transportation hub. They're not there for us filmmakers. So it's challenging, and that was no different. You know, we were there right before Thanksgiving, and a lot of people were traveling, and it's busy. And for us, you know, things that read like today, we want to make disappear. And so John Carlos is very specific in picking out those elements, and then it's part of our job to implement them.
We had a really glorious experience going back and shooting all over Manhattan with our cast. You know, Evan and Tessa, but maybe more than anyone else, Ed. Watching Ed kind of in and amongst the crowds in New York City, sort of like a predator making his way through a fox in the chicken house, was a lot of fun.
It's like He's playing Red Dead Redemption, but Manhattan style.
The guy we were looking for, the head of Bull, is Trey.
He knows he's killing kids. You wanted your eyes on the inside. I'm deep on the inside.
We're going after a pretty big beast here. So we're gonna take a shot. We can't miss.
Just quicksand, his whole world down there. Alex, he's alive down there.
Get our friends back from that hole in the desert.
We'll find her. You wanna tell me how?
I'll find Alex.
Roswell, New Mexico. New episode next Monday at 8, 7 Central. Only on the sea.
I hear you whispering, but nobody's there. You're left without saying goodbye.
I charge for my services, but my honor isn't for sale.
The country needs to be scared. And we need to tell them exactly what to be scared of.
Will be found guilty, and this trial will be used to persecute all witches.
The first song must be important if the Camarilla are determined to destroy it.
We have a lot to accomplish.
Tell me some good news.
We were planning on getting married.
Motherland, Fort Salem. New episodes Tuesdays at 10 on Freeform and stream on Hulu.
We need to know the truth, all of it. We figure out who A is and how to stop him. What exactly are we looking for? Clues.
Not this shit again.
And then there was the assault.
9 times out of 10, it's someone you know.
Sean, we need to talk.
Oh my God. Gotcha.
It's time you know the truth.
What happened to us?
You started this nightmare.
Go! Or it's gonna be very bad for you.
He has to be A. Our moms know. You didn't think we would find out.
We're 5 against 1.
This is ending tonight.
I got some disturbing news.
I feel like we're getting closer to something, Daddy.
You Imogen Adams?
Are you Joseph?
Crazy Joe.
I love Crazy Joe. I have a lot of love for Crazy Joe. I call him like Misunderstood Joe. He is creepy. He lives out of a train car. There's a lot of things about him that would probably say run the other way. So, Joseph, Joe, you said you knew Angela Waters.
More than knew her. I was in love with her.
The things that make it feel creepy is actually the approach to the train. Those slightly off moments where we're pushing in very slowly on a dolly as they're walking that give us a sense of foreboding.
The train yard was actually really cool. That actually was completely covered in snow, which we had to clear out to make sure the crew could get in and out.
I can close that if you're cold.
Crazy Joe, was it? No, thank you. We're good.
So our school is actually filmed in 2 locations. We have some of our classrooms and some of our hallways are at a stage, and the other part of our school is at an abandoned school.
Needing to shoot a school, could present so many challenges when most of them are working schools. So I found an old property, and it had gym, it had a cafeteria, it had multiple classrooms.
It was a school that had been abandoned for 20 years, so it had a kind of mysterious, haunted, literally when we went there, it looked like, you know, an uninhabitable place. It was hard to imagine how we were going to shoot there.
I think that's such a cool thing as well, of being here in upstate New York, where we go to the middle of nowhere to this high school that's so cool, and it really helps us build this whole story and this whole world that we're living in.
The set decorating team did an extensive amount of work tiling that entire long hallway that you see. We put in all of those lockers. It was basically a very raw space.
The dance studio was the old elementary school gym, and we just loved this space because it had all this kind of strange, unlikely decor.
Very early on, Neil and I really felt strongly that that room was going to be empty, so that floor needed to really shine.
It's just you and me now. And I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
You scarred me, Mom. Literally and figuratively.
I think at a young age, you have your role model set before you, and if you're a young woman, it's your mother. And I do think that there's sort of always two paths. One is, I want to be just like my mother, and one is I want to be nothing like my mother.
If you were in pain, you should have said something.
Are you for real? I did. You just didn't want to hear me.
Another question that the series is wrestling with and hopefully answering is this idea of, does history have to repeat itself? When the mothers were teenagers, they were the mean girls, and you see our girls trying to live their lives differently.
I always think it's a really interesting thing when you think you know someone and you learn so much about them that you never knew. And it kind of shifts the dynamic between the daughters and the mothers.
Her mom's been lying to her this entire time. The roles reverse, and she goes to her mom and she tells her what I'm going to do and how I'm going to live and navigate this life, and how her mom needs to do some reflection.
But hear this, Mom. I'm not gonna let your poor decisions affect the rest of my life.
She is able to contextualize something and come to terms with something that her mother simply cannot, which is, it's okay to be who you are.
We've always associated carnivals with spookiness. I think what makes carnivals scary is that there is sort of a chaos. There's always an element of danger. It's a bunch of people. We're with our parents, and our parents should be able to protect us, but that terrible things happen.
The carnival was this creepy Gothic exterior, so that became a big part of the visual language. We actually see the entrance. We created this giant kind of antique clown head entrance where we go into the carnival. And then we had to then fill the rest of the space with real rides, food vendors and attractions and things. Like everything, we wanted this to be really dense.
We had our wonderful scenic department age a lot of things, so it had kind of that 1970s, 1980s carnival feel where it's not so pristine and so sanitized. It's a little bit more gritty and dirty.
One of our big set pieces and one of our scariest set pieces is when Mouse and Ash go into the Hall of Mirrors.
So they go in having just bonded, and then the creeper comes.
Well, the mirror maze, you get lost in it on purpose in the story. I found the Gothic arch and columns to be really interesting. The way it reflected gave I thought, more convincing and sense of kind of infinite reflection, because you just see these arches go on forever. And also in the story, the mothers have been in this same maze, so I wanted to get the sense that this is the same maze they've been pulling out for 60 years.
We built the lighting into the Hall of Mirrors, so that one moment where Mouse runs into a mirror thinking it's an exit, and we jump out on the outside of the mirror.
I talked to Travis Patton, and he was kind of explaining to me, Mallory, she's throwing chairs at him, and Maya's running fast down her hallway, but with this one specifically, it was so psychological, and what makes the scene so scary is that the perception of yourself and being forced to perceive your inner beast and your own wrongdoings. Here's Mouse trapped in a maze, and it's her own reflection. She can't escape.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the people are protected by two separate yet equally important groups. The heroes who save them and the attorneys who clean up their collateral damage. But only one can be both. This is her story. Dun dun.
Lawyer show. She-Hulk's a legal comedy like we've never done before.
All rise.
Whoa! Change back now! Emil!
All right, calm down.
What's fun is the types of Marvel characters that come to her for legal advice.
No judge is going to take this seriously unless we do things by the book.
The Book of Ashanti.
No, the Book of American Laws.
It's a law show, like Ally McBeal or The Practice, and then it breaks all those rules.
The fun of the show is to combine this legal world and all of the possibilities around superhero weirdness.
Call my lawyer.
I just want to be a normal, anonymous lawyer.
We're really pushing boundaries. Other shows haven't before.
Case closed.
Dun dun.
Are you ready for the feast? My wounds have the power to heal.
American Horror Stories.
Whenever one person's seen this, the whole world suffers for it.
A new nightmare every week.
You must stop this madness.
How many corpses have you robbed of their hearts? How many people have died this month?
FX's American Horror Stories, Milkmaids, now streaming only on Hulu.
So, back to what I was saying before, my theory.
Oh, God.
Steve Rogers did not have a girlfriend before he went into the service.
Says who?
The History Channel. So he becomes Captain America, and from that moment on, a symbol of America, he is rushed to the front lines, he becomes a war hero, then he is frozen in ice.
Right.
So, based on everything you've told me, after he gets unfrozen, he goes from world-threatening disaster to world-threatening disaster. That's when he's not a fugitive from the law, right? So it seems like he was pretty busy.
All you're doing is repeating everything that I've already told you about my friend and colleague.
Obviously, Captain America was a virgin.
Look out!